Hello, my name is Karen Montesosa, and in this PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to be focusing on the impact culture has in students' learning and how it can help all students succeed through a set of vision statements. I will be directly speaking from my future career standpoint, which is technology specialist in a high school setting. So, my first slide is on types of learners and hidden curriculum. So my vision statement is, in my future career of technology specialist at a school, I aim to train students, teachers, and coworkers. All learners will have a different experience with technology. My goal will be to train and educate, but will leave them to decide if they want to put into practice the training provided by me. Although my purpose is not only to train and teach, but also inspire students to aspire a career in technology and break down the barriers that exist in the field. So let me start off by telling you what exactly I'll be doing in my career field. I'll be in charge of supporting teachers incorporate technology in their classrooms, and students will be the main focus. So I will be in contact with students in the classroom, showing them how things work, as well as receiving feedback on new technology. And every classroom has different needs depending on the types of learners. So I would need to have an excellent communication with all teachers to have a good understanding of classroom environment. So for example, a teacher might express to me that they are not good with technology and neither are their students. So I would have to come up with something simpler and work our way up. On the other hand, there might be a teacher who is great with technology and has already introduced their students to technology. In that case, I would just need to make sure they're using it correctly and maybe expand their knowledge. So hidden curriculum are the unofficial lessons that are taught in educational settings. So for example, acceptable behaviors, how students should interact with others, and how they should perceive different races and orientations. So in the education glossary, it is referred as hidden curriculum because it goes unexamined or unacknowledged by students and educators. So technology is becoming a very important skill to have. So I want to help students learn that anyone can do it. Second slide is about places, space, and material. So my vision statement is, in my learning environment, I strive to create an inclusive, fun, and collaborative space. The way learners perceive a place can affect their way of learning. Therefore, it is my goal to welcome learners and treat them with equality. To achieve this, I must provide a comfortable space with computers for everyone, no assigned seating, and no culturally biased decorations. So as Titman said, when people enter a place, they question if they belong there or who the place is made for. And I do not want my learners to think of my learning space as homework or as a chore. So like having a typical classroom with rows of desks and the teacher in the front can send messages to student, like that the teacher is in charge and whatever a teacher says goes, like in a authoritarian teacher. So I mean, I remember when I was in school, sometimes I was intimidated by the teachers who had that authoritarian approach. I would be nervous to ask questions, so I want to have a welcoming space that belongs to everyone, not just myself. As far as materials goes, I'll try to have more culturally diverse posters so my students can see themselves reflected in them. And since I do want to be a technology specialist in a high school setting, I mean, I don't know how the external place will look like. Hopefully I will be in a STEM school, where, the environment is collaborative and project-based. And next slide, I talk about the achievement gap and testing bias. So I aspire to hold everyone to highest standards, and my learners will not receive biased trainings or assessments that present content validity. In order to ensure everyone's success, I must present my learners with equal opportunities. One training at a time will close the achievement gap within races. So what is the achievement gap? The achievement gap is the academic disparity between the dominant culture and minorities. And although the achievement gap is a national problem, it's different for communities because all communities are made up differently and they do not have the same needs. So therefore, the solutions are different for each environment. And test bias is something that could contribute to this to the achievement gap. So this can happen when in any type of teaching, not just in assessments or tests. So when the content is common knowledge to some cultures but not to others, or when educators use a type of wording that is not understood by some cultures. So it's very important because we want to give everyone the same opportunity to succeed. As Burris and Wellner said in the article, achievement follows opportunities. So in my teaching approach, I would need to back off from like technical language to make sure everyone understands what I'm saying. I would also need to have learners give me feedback so that I can learn from them and help them succeed and see what works and what doesn't. I need to be culturally aware, make sure my learners are understanding the material before they can use it in their classroom. Okay, so next slide is culture as a disability and cultural conflicts. So my vision statement is, as a future educator of technology, I guarantee all my learners the same level of instruction, patience, and curriculum in order to terminate or minimize cultural conflict. I understand learners may be disabled in our community culture, but will never treat them differently. I will encourage all my learners in the same manner. So, from our PowerPoint on culture as a disability, we learned that culture itself can disable people through inherent cultural biases about what skills, values, and abilities each culture values. So, meaning that what we learn and value from our culture can impede us from appreciating and learning other cultures, thinking that we're the superior culture since it's all we know. So technically, McDermott and Varan state that everyone in any culture is subject to being labeled as disabled. It's very important. It's a very important theory to consider as an educator because we want to give everybody the same opportunities. So, for example, a lot of lower class students who don't have family or friends that went to college, and they don't think they will go to college either. They might just want to graduate high school in order to start working and help their parents out. So this type of mentality can disable students from doing better in school, from applying to college, or for scholarships. So as a future educator, I don't want to hold anyone to low expectations. I want to hold everyone to the highest expectations and push everyone to be the best they can. So cultural conflicts. This happens when different cultural norms clash. So when students' culture is different from the school's culture, there can be conflict because things might be interpreted differently. But these cultural clashes need to be addressed because then they can contribute to bigger issues like the achievement gap. So this needs, again, I just need to be culturally aware, hold students and not hold students accountable for my mistakes. For example, in the PowerPoint, we learn about how in some cultures it is polite to look an adult in the eye, when they're talking, but in other cultures it's not. So we need to be careful with things like that. Moving on, the next slide is pop culture and school rituals. Vision statement is rituals in the classroom can help students feel appreciated. The value and knowledge that comes from small rituals can also transfer to their life outside of school. I guarantee all learners my appreciation and value by using non-standardized approaches in the classroom. My learners will drive discussions and learning while I learn with them. So very straightforward, I think. So rituals in the classroom. Here are some standardized rituals in school. They can include listening, sitting, raising your hand, waiting, passing out papers, standing in line, things like that. But then there are other rituals that may be more positive and meaningful for students, like greeting them, personally greeting them when they get there, greeting their parents if their parents drop them off. This can communicate that you value and include all people. So in my classroom, I don't really want standard rituals. I would want my teaching styles to vary as well. I would want to experiment with having group discussions, or lessons taught by me, one-on-one teaching, and I think it's important to do that because discussions can help. With discussions, we can all learn from each other. So that's good. And so for this slide, I did some research on pop culture and what pop culture is. How pop culture represents education in film, music, art, and television. So there are forms. These are forms of pop culture that are mass delivered and streamed for a younger audience. Usually for the younger people, since they're influenced by it, and they stereotype a lot of it, and there's some negative messages in there. There's as well as positive messages, and I think those stereotypes, they have some truth to them. So by doing this, by being culturally aware, we break down these stereotypes. And all right, and the last slide is culturally responsive teaching. So being a minority myself, I seek to give learners what I did not have in school when I came to this country. As a mentor and trainer of education technology, one might think I cannot include multicultural education, but that is incorrect. I will be an avid learner of different cultures in order to adjust my teaching style so all learners have the same achievement opportunity. So what this means is that educators can adjust their teaching styles so that students of different cultural backgrounds can have the same achievement opportunities as the dominant culture. This requires educators to be culturally aware of other cultures, beliefs, values, and traditions. Different ways that educators can demonstrate culturally responsive teaching is the way teachers interact with students, how they deliver instruction, the way teachers listen to their students' needs, and the way teachers see their students and their learning. So we can definitely make a difference and help students achieve equally. Thank you for listening.